Welcome, everyone, to episode 19 of the Bunker Talk. Super excited. We've got quite a few back-to-back solid guests lately. Michelle Balaun, our brand director in the house. She's the first branding expert that I have on the podcast. Thank you so much for coming and welcome.
Thank you.
Excited to have you.
Yes.
So I'm not a branding expert. But in my industry, I do have a reputation of having a pretty solid brand because insurance agents tend to kind of all look the same. Mm-hmm. And so I did go to the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale, but for interior design.
Okay. Well, here's the magic question. How long have you had your business?
It's going to be 5 years.
When was the last time you redid your website?
Probably about 3 years ago.
Okay. Ages. Think of something that's 3 years old on the internet.
Right.
1,000 years old, right? 3 years is 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Old. So branding, because your business is always evolving, I guarantee you, if you haven't rebranded yourself in 3 years, it's not representing what you really do.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest mistake that people make. Branding is not the physical look of a brand, simply by the colors or by the website or by the logos or whatever. Branding, there's a whole 8 steps in front of that. That is mission statement, vision statement, call to action, niche, like about the story, the gimmick or the hook, right? All these things. That is a lot of sitting down and talking through it. I just
it's
said
hard.
Sitting down, like with S's on it. So it's a lot of talking through with somebody who can pinpoint for you the connective areas. Because just like when we're trying to do something for ourselves, we don't necessarily see the problem, right? That's why you always go to an expert or something to say, well, like with insurance or whatever, like, where's my problem at? Well, here, you didn't even know that this was your problem, but this is your problem, kind of a thing. And that's the same thing with branding. So branding has this whole job before, like I have to talk with my hands, sorry, this whole job before the fun stuff happens.
Right.
Like
and that's the painful stuff.
Exactly.
So before we even get into that, great intro already.
Okay.
Tell everybody who you are.
Me.
Yeah. How'd you get into branding? Why branding?
I have eons and eons of fashion industry experience.
I can tell.
Oh,
you're always fashionable.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Do you like my earrings?
I know. They're under the table, but that's for us. They'll see it in the photo.
Exactly. So I have done literally everything in the fashion industry, from merchandise information systems, pre-internet, yeah, I'm that old, and just advertising, marketing, design, sales, import, export, like all these things. I've done it nationally. I've done it internationally. I've sold to clients from the Arctic Circle all the way to Africa, right? So there isn't anything I haven't done. And fashion is very related to branding.
Yes.
I actually, for my brand, I relate it to, I don't do cookie cutter answers. It's couture.
Ooh.
Because back in the day, couture was you went to a showroom. Like if you're watching Palm Royale now, you can see they're in like a showroom where the model walks down and you say, ooh, I like number 3 or I like number whatever. And these women are all different sizes. So they go then measure the customer and then fit the item to the customer. Yeah. Not like ready to wear, which is the fashion hell that we're in right now, right? With buying something off the rack bums you out.
When it doesn't fit.
Because it will not fit.
Right.
Because they have a plastic mannequin that they're saying that is a size 6, that is a size 8, that is a size 10. And everyone's the same height, the same weight, the same shape. And if you've ever seen any of the Dove commercials where they'll show you one weight, but they'll show you 6 women that are all that same weight.
Yes.
Some that are 6 foot, some that are 5 foot, some that
not the same body composition.
No, it's crazy, but they're like the same. So that's the same thing with branding.
I love
when
that.
you have different insurance agents, or you have different real estate agents, or you have different financial advisors, or you have different coaches. Each one of those people have a different kind of business, and without knowing their specific niche, they will have a hard time finding their client and branding themselves. to make themselves stand out, right? All financial people are in blue. All
same in our industry.
Exactly.
And in our industry, the majority are last name insurance agency. They don't have creative
Yeah.
names. It's last name
Yeah.
insurance,
Yeah.
you know, and it was a pride thing back then, I think. Now the public doesn't really care. They don't
Right.
connect to my last name.
Right.
Right.
Well, but personally, I always suggest to someone to .com your name.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're selling fur coats or motor oil. If you .com your name, you can sell insurance, you can sell books, you can sell what. Look at Martha Stewart. Okay, perfect example. Paint, gummies. Like it doesn't matter what you're selling, right? So you can never go wrong with .comming your name. Do you have to have a creative name? Well, it depends. Right? And that's usually the branding answer I give that makes people absolutely crazy because they're like, really? Yeah, it's not black and white.
Right.
And there's not like a 1, 2, 3, 4. It depends.
It's a process.
It depends on where you're at because you never step foot in the river the same place twice, right? Because you're always evolving. So just like you said, 3 years, it's like there are going to be some elements that are consistent. There are going to be some elements that are different, and there are going to be some elements that don't fit at all, right? So it's almost like I suggest a brand audit for all businesses once a year, a live brand audit, so that you can see what is not aligning. We often forget, like when the last time you looked at LinkedIn, the last time you looked at this or that. You look at it now and you're like, holy cow, I didn't even realize that was in my about, right? So there's all these things have to be aligned because the bots are crawling the websites. So yes, it does matter what your LinkedIn says compared to your Instagram, compared to your website, compared to your Google search, right? If your street is Smith Street and you spell it ST dot on one, and you spell it STREET on another,
that's a problem.
Not a match, right? So the bots are crawling and they're like, it's a match. And they move your SEO up one. It's a match. Every time you match some little one element, because they're only ones and zeros, right? When you match one little element, that's where the bots say, this is a real brand. We are going to promote it. Yep. So as it moves up, and I only believe in organic growth, like doing it, just do it the right way. It'll be fine. Like you can get a lot of trouble if you try to be sneaky about it, kind of a thing.
The thing is that it's for it to feel authentic, for it to stick, for it to be truly your story, for your staff to buy in, for your clients to be involved in the journey of your brand. It has to be authentic.
It's the magic word you just said was story. The story is so important. So my story is this whole fashion industry thing. I left and went to Europe for 15 years. So I have a lot of European influence. Not anyone, there are a lot of brand people out there, but there's not a lot of brand people that used to have 18 different countries in their showroom at the same time. Right. So I am a very good liaison because I have to understand different cultures. Right. I have to understand, the people in the Arctic Circle don't want anything white, and the people in South Africa don't want anything but it's too hot. It's like here in Florida, right? It's like, who wants to wear a black outfit? Oh my God, we're both wearing black.
It's not that hot outside today, though.
But that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you have to know the culture. Also, the culture of what are the country's culture items. So you have to be very clever at doing that. So it's no different when you're creating your niche to also be culturally aware of what your niche needs. Do you have someone who's talking with their hands as much as me? Yeah. Because I'm so afraid I'm going to knock the microphone. Yeah.
No, this is great. And so right off the bat, right? Let's start really basic. Someone new in business or looking to, I think people open a business and the brand is an afterthought, right? Yeah. It's, I got to get money on the books. I got to sell products. I got to have customers, which I understand, right? So whether they're actually physically new in business or they are 2 years in, 3 years in, and now they have the funds and the time and now they know the business, they're going to start.
Right.
Where does somebody start?
Good question. I understand small businesses because you have now spent $4,000 on a logo and a website, or maybe $8,000 together or whatever. And you're like, I don't want someone to come in and tell me I'm wrong, that I need to change my brand. It's like getting a decorator for a new house and you've just painted everything, and she comes in and she goes, oh no, we have to move that wall and paint this and do that. You're like, yeah, but I already just spent the money. I'm painting everything white. It's staying white for a while, right? So it's the same thing. You can have, there's a lot of branding companies out there that will come in and say, oh, no, you're doing it all wrong. You have to have this, and you have to have this, and you have to have this. Where I'm a little bit more couture, where I'm like, well, what are your preferences? Mm-hmm. What do we need to keep? I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. What is it that
what are the non-negotiables?
Yeah, where is the money that you spent that you're like, no, it's got to be this? You know, think of a logo is not engraved in granite unless you're dead, okay? And it's your gravestone. Yeah. So logos all evolve. Like if you go and look up the actual logo progress of Coca-Cola or of Twitter. Do you know that Twitter, whatever X or whatever it is, they actually had a cartoon bird in like the year 2000. I'm like, I missed that. I didn't even say. So if you look up there, it's really interesting to see how big companies that you would never even think have changed their logo.
They do it in front of our face.
It's happening all the time.
Right.
So you can change a logo slightly, slowly, migrate it to something else. So if you do have a logo that doesn't fit your brand anymore, you can keep it. You can change the color. There's ways to adapt it and slowly migrate it out for when you do have the money to spend on it. So it's like, it depends on which elements are non-negotiable, as you said. Like, this is where we're at. What can we do with what we have? Right. The budget is only this much. And I think that's so sad when people say, well, you can't be helped. Well, of course you can.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing with a seamstress. Like if you are going to a rack and buying clothes, if someone's making it for you, should be like, okay, I can fix this. We can let this seam out. We can pull this seam in. We can do this dart. Like, yeah, we can save it. Same thing. So you need to look for someone who can save.
Right, who's willing to not come in and completely do an overhaul.
It's easy. If you come in and completely overhaul it, that's easy. Right. That's not hard at all. And what's very difficult is somebody cannot create the brand for you. They have to create it with you. Because often someone will say, well, I had someone do my website. It's not at all what I expected, or it's not at all what I wanted. And I'm like, well, how much information did you give them?
How involved were you in the process?
And they're like, well,
Well, I think, so in the space that I'm in, and I understand, it's so many people just don't have the natural ability to see the art piece of this.
Yes.
They just cannot envision it.
Yeah.
They cannot. It's a gift.
Yeah.
It's a gift. Yeah. And so it's like, I don't have it on the graphic design side. I just have a gut feeling of, I kind of know what looks good and what doesn't. And so my husband tells me it's a gift. Some people just don't have it. He's like, there's people that, live in houses that are painted 7 different colors because they just can't pick a color because they don't know what matches.
Right.
Like, so there's that piece of it. So I think business owners that even feel fear in this process, right? It's almost, it can be a kind of raw and exposing process, right?
Absolutely.
Like you're saying of that they have to be involved, and having to invite someone into the process of like writing your mission statement. That's painful. It's hard. It's hard, especially when you don't have a fun business. Like I sell insurance.
But that's where because you've been put in this painful situation, you don't understand, because you're trying to make it sound some weird,
right? Like I'm so professional, and
get rid of that. It's like human beings don't talk like that.
Right.
That's not a real mission, and you're not a 1,000 person.
I'm not a corporate shop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's no reason why you should sound like one of the big firms, because that's not what you're offering.
But I think that's where businesses get stuck.
They do.
They want to feel bigger, so they go after something inauthentic.
Back in the day, like in the 2000s, right?
It's weird that it's back in the day. Yeah.
Is when we first started our businesses, we would build our about page that say our team services, blah, 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 blah. thank God for COVID when all that stopped and people were like, it's me, Joe. I'm in my garage.
Right.
I'm working.
Well, I think Amazon made that cool, right? Well, if Amazon could work with that picture of it spray painted behind him, now we could talk about the fact that we've been doing the same.
Exactly. So that kind of, I hate to see an about page that's written in the third person when you're a coach or you're a small business. It's like, who do you think is reading this and writing? Like, why are you doing that? You're like hiding? Guess what? We know.
Yeah. So, okay. So one of the things is work with someone that's not going to make you get rid of everything, right? First step, because also I feel like sometimes that's part of the story, right? They're attached to it. It's gotten them this far. So then to have to completely change their identity is not something that they're looking forward to.
Well, and that's just it. The key is not to change their identity. The key is to enhance their identity. So it's almost like going to we used to call them beauty shops in the day, or a salon, or like it's like we need to bring out the natural beauty, which is the story, which is the concept of who you want to serve, why. So for a mission statement, why you, why now, and why this? That just answer that question. So a mission statement is local. A vision statement is global. So a vision statement is like, I want everyone to have clean water.
Right.
A mission statement would be something like, I want to make sure that families in South Florida have the right or have the access to clean water for their homes and their children.
Right.
And
It's
their
more,
animals.
right. It's okay.
That's a local statement.
Would a mission statement be the equivalent of like an impact statement?
Could be. That sounds like another corporate.
I was going to say.
It sounds like another corporate garbage word.
Yeah. I've heard of people like in their impact statements and I'm like, I don't really know what that is. Okay, good. All right.
So a lot of it is clarifying.
Right.
Simplifying and finding the real story. Like everyone has a real story, a real story behind them. And to find that nugget and bring that out so that you can use that as a hook. I hate to say it. It's not a manipulation point. It's a hook. Everything has to have a hook.
Yeah, it's the point where people can relate. Your audience can relate to you.
Yes,
that's what that is.
Exactly.
A hook might be the actual term for it, but in reality, it's just it's a meeting point in between your audience and you.
Well, and it's also not about you.
Right.
It's about your client. It's like, what is their pain point? You know, so for insurance, maybe it's not about like, are you protected? Blah, 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 blah. It's like that stuff. Everyone yawn next.
Right.
Like they're gone. Like finding the question of what would happen if the next hurricane took your roof off.
Right. Life insurance uses that a lot. Yeah. It's like, so they use that tag. Yep.
Exactly. Because focusing on a pain point for your client is much more intriguing to them than where you went to school, how much
designations.
How much service you've done, how much whatever. It's like you and 15 million other people have the same credentials, right?
Well, and if you think about it, like for example, especially in South Florida where we live, it's pretty saturated in these professions. Insurance. In my complex right here, I have a State Farm right there. I have Allstate's right there. In that building, I have another one in the other. There's like 5 insurance agencies right here in my parking lot.
Right.
So it's like, why me?
Yeah.
And that's why Last Name Insurance Agency used to work. We owned one. And it worked very well. My dad and I were talking about it today during lunch. It's just like times were different where it was easier to be a business owner, right? Because you didn't have to do a lot extra. You just had to be an honest, a good business person. But now you have to be found.
Yeah.
And this helps you be found, be memorable.
So that's the other point, right? Why do I have to have a website? Why do I have to be on social media?
People still ask, really, why do I have to have a website?
It's your credibility.
I can understand social media because there's some people that just want their privacy, but a website?
It's like, grow up.
Right.
Privacy? Like, how?
I know.
Don't put your laundry out there if you don't want anyone to see it.
Hey, guess what? You can control what you post.
Exactly. But the point is, that is advertising today. There are no newspapers. Sorry, Sun Sentinel.
Right.
There are no newspapers.
You know, I had a conversation with someone today that they said, I read in the Sun Sentinel.
Oh my God.
And this person was not old.
Was it digital or was it?
I didn't ask.
Yeah, that would have been my next question.
I should have.
Was it digital?
Was it a hard? Like, are you opening it? Because that's what that's what I use as like a pee-pee pad.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, what will I do? There has to be a better way.
Yeah. Sorry. So we're not. So where are they found? You can control what you put online.
Oh, right,
They're
exactly.
Not.
So credibility in today's world is not just your name on a shingle outside the door, right? Credibility point is, if I'm interested in utilizing your services, I'm going to look you up on Facebook, on Google, on your website, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. I'm going to look at all those things to see what you look like.
Right. When was the last time they posted?
Exactly.
Has it been 4 years since you posted a blog? Then I think you're not in business anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and if they don't match, like if one of them doesn't have a background and one of them has a name, but the title's wrong, and one of them has, it's like, it's, if you are someone who's interested in business, attention to detail. Like if I'm hiring someone, I want to make sure they have attention to my details. And if they can't even get their backgrounds right, they're not paying attention.
That's a great point. Absolutely a great point. And I also think that the days of making first impressions in person, that opportunity is not as often.
Yeah.
By the time we go meet for coffee or a lunch, and it's the first time I'm meeting you in person, we're either friends on LinkedIn or you've looked me up on LinkedIn or my socials or my website. Right. Absolutely.
There's no more surprises.
They know what you look like. Yeah. They know what you do. They've checked you out already on all of those places. So that's your first impression.
Exactly.
It's not us meeting for the lunch.
Exactly. And that's my point. It's your credibility in today's world. Yep. It's like, this is how you have to appear as a business in today's world. Yep. So that is ultra important. And so as you can see, that brand position is sliding down the street from us. Like there's all this work in front of it that has to be well thought out. The story is so important. It is the thing that sells, and it's the thing that connects you to your client. Yes. And finding that story, like there's nothing, it's like I work with a lot of people, and I go in and I do the audits, and I start reading on LinkedIn about like, I was born blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh my God, no one is ever, they're going to get to 3 words and be gone, right? There's so much available space for you to acknowledge your services. It's not manipulation, and it's not abuse of it. It's positioning yourself with the correct information in the right way at the right time in the right place.
It's powerful. It's super powerful because so many of us are bad at this too, because it's almost like in a way of you're putting so much attention on yourself. Yeah. You have to talk about yourself in such a different light that we're just not used to.
Here's another, what did I say before? Grow up. Yeah. That's another grow up. Yeah. It's like you have to find the division between the private you and the work you. Right. And the work you, would you go to a hairstylist that won't post anything about themselves or their hair or anything? It's like, I don't even know who they are. I don't even know what they look like. I don't even, like if they're not, or getting your lashes done or your eyebrows, and that person doesn't show what they look like, you're like, no, I'm not going to them.
It's so wild how our trust is built on what a person chooses to show about themselves makes us trust them more than the person that just doesn't show up.
Right.
But we know that they're choosing to show us the best of themselves.
Exactly.
And we're fine with that.
Exactly.
That's ironic though.
Yeah. There's a saying in German, it's like you show your chocolate side. So there's a cookie that's chocolate on one side and a biscuit on the other. Yeah. So you're only showing your chocolate side.
We only want the chocolate
side. Good side.
Yeah.
Right? You know? So,
and we put so much weight on that.
We do.
Knowing that.
We do. But if you go back to watch Mad Men one more time, it's all part of the advertising game.
Right.
So it's a tightrope walk.
It is. It is. Well, and that's why you were needed.
Right.
That's why the average business owner can't do this on their own.
But there's ways around it. So if somebody is really shy of like putting themselves out there, that's fine. Today you can do faceless videos faceless. Yeah.
I read the article.
Oh, did you?
It was great.
So there are ways around this. Like you can have, I had one client once who this was when I say like pre-COVID even, right? And she said, no, I cannot be on. I'm like, okay. So we had like an icon. It was this little frog. So the frog showed up and the frog did stuff and the frog was the icon and I'm like, see, we just replaced you with the frog because it was a kid's thing. So it was easy to do anyway. But exactly that, it's the frog took on her persona.
Right.
And so she could start to like put herself out there as this frog.
Right.
And still hide kind of her shyness.
Yeah.
But if you're a business owner and you're not proud of your business so much that you don't want anyone to know who you are, then you're probably doing something illegal, I would assume.
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Probably.
Yeah. So it's like that's another touch point of honesty. This all goes back to, why do we shake hands? Why do we click drinks? Wasn't it so that like when you did cheers together that some of your drink spilled in the other person's drink to prove that it wasn't poisoned or whatever, right? And you shook hands to prove you didn't have any weapons and things like that. So this is literally what we're doing again. It's like if you don't show that you are this person full face, then you're not believable, right?
Yeah.
And that equates to your brand.
Right.
So and what's really unique is that the big companies are trying to appear like a person.
So we could not have planned this better, and this was not planned. I'm so happy you went there because Michelle and I are both thought leaders in the Daily Drip, which Nicole, her episode was recorded last week. Okay. So we just had a conversation. So you're gonna be released right after hers.
Okay.
We just had a conversation about personal brand versus like a company brand and what are your thoughts of a company letting their employees develop their personal brand while working for them? Because Nicole's version was there's no option because companies now are shying away from appearing like these large companies because nobody wants to do business with the big guys anymore. We want to support local. We want to make a difference.
Right. So first of all, I used to have a branding tagline that was like, if you don't create your brand is being created for you. Mm-hmm. So either you create it or it's being created about you in your position as an employee in a business. There's an example. It was probably 2 years ago or something. Walmart had this little story session out there on the internet. Walmart, giant conglomerate. They did a pop-up store that looked like a little cabin, and it was sort of country cabin stuff that you would need to outset your own cabin kind of thing. It looked so quaint. It looked like Rose's Apothecary, right, from Schitt's Creek. Mm-hmm. It was like this gorgeous little shop with the windows, had the cute, like one or two items on the shelf. It was Walmart. It's crazy, right? I can't remember what they called it. It was like, some ma and pa kind of shop kind of a thing. They put all the ma and pa's out of business, right? Right. So,
but they did that to appeal.
Exactly that. They are going back to putting a face on a business because we buy from faces.
People, yeah.
So if you are an employee in a company, because of today's environment, you have to have your own personal brand. Mm-hmm. I feel very strongly about personal brands.
I love that.
I even have a 2-word branding exercise that I do with everyone who comes through my doors.
Okay.
And it's out of 650 words, you come up with 2 words. That is your personal brand. And every time I do this exercise, it's very scary, right? Every time I do this, the person starts off with, oh yeah, no way. Oh yeah, no way. And then they go through all this ritual. We do all these questions. We do all these things. And we get down to, it's like the last couple things and they're like, it's that. That's it. That's me. It's like, because of the deduction that has happened through all these things, and like comparing and contrasting and looking up definitions and like going through all these things, it's just suddenly poof, clarity. And those two words become your mantra. They are your brand. So I will out myself and tell you I was going to ask.
So you're so good at this.
I know. My 2-word brand, just wind me up and let me go in the corner.
I love it.
My 2-word brand is genuine bold. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? So if you come to my house called the Magic House.
Oh, this is amazing. I love this.
I have, it's orange subway tiles in the bathroom. There's hot pink walls. There's barn doors that are hot pink. It's like, it's this crazy place that everyone comes in and they're like, oh my God, I love it. It's like, it's a certain place, but it is me. It's like genuine bold. And I actually do that exercise every couple years to make sure my words haven't changed. And I didn't know. That's it. That's the word. It's like someday maybe I'll know when they change.
Right.
Because I don't believe anything's etched in stone. I think you can always evolve and change. But it is so amazing, especially on my end, when I'm watching the process happen. And I see the clink in their eye, and I'm like, that's it. They know their words. They know it right there, and they do. It's amazing. So having that personal brand now relates to my hair, relates to my clothes, relates to my home, relates to my car, relates to my business, relates to it is sort of the brand within the brand, because I have a single person sort of situation.
I have never seen your home, obviously, right? And you describing it that way, it 100% matches. That's incredible. And it's so powerful, because seeing you embody it. And I feel like I know everything about you.
Right.
Yeah. So good.
It is. It's very clear. And so I have an idea of what yours could be, but I can't say what it would be, because you really have to go through the process to see it.
Yeah.
And it is when I can, after doing a number of these, I just recently, actually it was yesterday that I just did another one, and her words were so much different than the last person's. It was, I'm floored. I sit there in amazement when I'm watching. I'm like, how did this happen? How do they know? How do the words appear to them? But that's just it. It's about decisions. It's like, we don't stop long enough to decide things for ourselves. We keep thinking we need to change. I got to change. I got to change. I got to update. I got to change.
Also, Michelle, like, when was the last time anyone has told any of us to stop and think about yourself? What are the words? If you tell a woman, let's just talk about women, right? Exactly. Describe yourself in 3 words. What, mom, wife?
Oh, that's another thing,
right?
Labels. Yeah, exactly.
There's so much more than that.
And I guarantee you, a man would start off with, I'm a man, where the woman would say, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a mom.
Friend. Yep. Yeah. So powerful, this exercise that you do for this whole process, whether it's the business or the personal brand, because it also is just, it's almost like you're opening a door that has never been opened, because if nobody's gone through this, I mean, most people don't.
No.
Right? And that's why it can be a little painful and self-reflective and it's almost a therapy session, honestly.
It is. Yeah. And it was something I stumbled on. And so it's a conglomerate of a lot of things that I went through.
Right.
And it's just like, this is how I use this tool in branding, because I feel that, especially if I deal with mostly entrepreneurs, right? So I'm not dealing with State Farm or, but even them, I would break it down into, it needs to have that kind of core, right? It needs to have that core. You need to find the core. But for all of us, regular folk, we need to find that core, right? Find what that whole center is. And so when you're developing your brand, you never asked what your core was. I'm not picking on you. No. So it's like, branding isn't the show dressing, right? It's the behind the curtain. It's the setting up the stage. It's the setting up the lights. It's for the production, right? The production might be one night. Ta-da!
Right.
You know, with the regalia and the clothes and the things. That's at the end when you have your logo and your website and your social media plan and your emails and your all that stuff ready. All of the preparation happens. Weeks and months of rehearsals, weeks and months of planning, staging, like I said, lighting, figuring things out. Those are the things that happen before you introduce your brand. And like you said, okay, I've had my brand for 5 years. Great. Let it keep going. Ain't nobody have to touch a thing, right? Just let it go. But you can do this back work now.
Right.
And then
because it's a process.
Exactly. And then say, okay, this is where I'm at now. I see how I have evolved. I now see what I need to change. Now I know specifically how to start putting the elements in to change that. Because mostly people sit there and say, I don't know what to put on social media. I don't know what to do for my content. I don't know. Anyone who has a website, I guarantee you already have all the content you need for 1 year of social media posts. I'm a magician with that, right? So there's a way to deal with content buckets. Content buckets have titles. And so if you get like 8 topics, then give me 10 titles under each 8 topics. That's 80 posts right there. If you do one a week, I only need 52. Right? So that's your structure. Then if we have a solar eclipse, then you can write something about the solar eclipse.
Right. You can do the one-offs.
You can do little things in between, but you have the structure out there. Here's the deal. If the Rolling Stones, poor old Mick, if he rolls up here at 80 and does a concert, can you tell me what songs they're singing? I Can't Get No Satisfaction. Like, can you imagine if they would do a concert without that song?
Right.
People would lose
They would want
minds.
their money back.
Right. And that's the problem with entrepreneurs or business people. We feel like we're repeating ourselves all the time and we want to create something new. And no. You have your top hits and you just keep doing how do I do this? Hitting them again and again and again. So you need I Can't Get No Satisfaction and you need to repeat it.
Wow.
Repeat it.
That's so interesting.
Repeat it. So whatever the 5 topics are that are the most important to your business, you need to express them. Let's say, here's 5 ways to protect yourself in a hurricane. Here's 3 ways to protect yourself in a hurricane. Here's the top way to protect yourself in a hurricane. That's 3 posts. It's the same post.
It's the same thing. You're just recycling the same information.
It just has a different hook.
Correct.
So that's the key. You need people to see it again and again and go, connect to Ciara to hurricanes, Ciara, hurricane, Ciara, hurricane. It's like whatever your top sellers are, right? You need to connect your brand to that concept. And you do that by repetition. Is it boring for you? Ask your first grade teacher who has taught first grade for 20 years.
The same
oh my God.
thing.
That is why I am not a teacher. I would have jumped out the window a long time ago. But
that is so interesting that you say that because I feel like I'm seeing a lot of content. Maybe it's my algorithm, which I'm not mad. I'm not mad that it's in this because it's a positive thing.
Our phones are listening.
Oh, for sure.
All change, yeah.
I think that it's a lot of the content that I've been consuming has been going back to the basics.
Yeah.
And I think that first of all, you can attest, being a business owner is so hard. There's so many hats that you're wearing all at the same time. I was having a conversation yesterday where it's just like, I feel like all I do is work and I'm not making progress, right? Like you're just feeling like you're on this wheel, but you're making progress. When you look at it from a bird's eye view, you're moving the needle. But it's such a shame that this stuff, unfortunately, for most business owners is afterthought. It's not a priority, right? Yeah. And so when you think about this and you just going back to the basics, like you're stuck at, I don't have anything to post on social media. Well, here's the easiest way to have 2 years worth of content to post. Yeah. Just like that.
And
because you went back to the basics.
It's not only that, it's you just repeat it.
Right.
It's like an ongoing, it's rinse and repeat.
Right.
But going back to, you need to have a brand audit at least once a year, because that's when the adjustments will come in. Because, okay, we're getting out of this hurricane thing. We're going to get more into this. So like you might drop one, add two. It's like it does grow, it does change, but the heart of it stays the same. It stays the same. It's like, I don't know, Oprah always had one message, right? So think of people who have a big brand. They have one message, and they just repeat it and repeat it and repeat it.
So interesting.
Yeah.
So interesting, the power of repetition, which we actually learned this too, right? In one of our thought leader meetings of having to repeat stuff 7 times for it to click, and in different mediums. And I think you were the one in the meeting that said, well, you guys repeated the new location, but if it would have been sent in a graphic, it would have hit different. And that, right? Like if you're using, if I was to be doing my social media plan, hurricane season's coming up and I'm doing it on hurricanes, right? I can't just post like a carousel.
No.
I need to do a video on the top 3 or on the main one, or, it's different mediums.
Right.
Of it.
Because people consume information in different ways. So exactly. The example that you just gave was we were getting these very informative, text heavy emails. Again, I don't have time for that.
Most don't.
I'm going to read.
Don't.
Where are the headlines? There's not even headlines on it. Like, at least give me a headline, right? If you break it up with visuals in between, people like me who will scan really quick, I stop at an image, right? I stop at an image. If it's a bad image, I don't stop.
Right.
I'm very picky about images. It has to be an interesting image, right? So it's kind of like you have, some are images, some are videos, some are audio files, some are like, you have to change it up, but it's the same message.
Right.
I strongly understand the frustration of people who do read and who are very wordy. I call it 10 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound bag.
Right.
It's like, it's too much. Nobody can, you know what you want to portray, and you know all the facets of all the things, and you're trying to tell me in one sitting. It's not going to work. And it's
working less now.
That's the magic. You have all that information. You break it into 50 points and give them to me one at a time. There's nothing worse than seeing an Instagram post that has 6 paragraphs on it, and the font is now size 0.01. You can see that there's something scribbled there, and you're just like, why didn't you break that into 6 posts?
Right. Well, I think because we, the consumer that doesn't know, thinks, man, how can I talk about this 6 different times? But it's the basics.
Yeah.
It's the basics.
Because you don't know when you're hitting that person. That person is looking at their phone while they're waiting in the doctor's office. Then they're looking at the phone while they're at the traffic light. I see you. I know who you are. I'm the one beeping the horn behind you. Then they're doing it at night. They're doing it while they're watching TV. Like, you're in competition with somebody's life. And whatever's the most interesting, because we all do it. You're either on the phone doing something else, and whatever's more interesting, like I am super guilty of this. I have the television going and I'm on the phone, and then I realize I've missed half of what I was watching. Go back, take the phone, put it down, start watching again, and the next thing I know, I'm on the phone again.
Well, that's why I watch like the same 4 shows. And I watch The Office or Friends, because I don't have to actually pay attention. It's just on. And then I know the jokes are coming, so I laugh. Or I'm like watching 90 Day Fiance, which I don't have to pay attention to at all. I watch mindless TV because of that.
Exactly. I always call it like brain floss. Like I have to have after work, I need brain floss. So I can have something show. I'm like visual. I'm playing with the phone. I don't have to listen to anything.
You know what it is too? It's like now it's not just at some point social media was for pleasure. Like it was fun connecting with our family. It's business now. I mean, I wake up, I have 3-4 LinkedIn messages a day, right? That I need to respond. And so it's like now I actually realized it because I was up very early this morning, and I realized, okay, well, I feel like my morning times are going to be like my LinkedIn post for the day for my business, create traction there and do that in the morning.
In the 50s and 60s, no one would have thought anything wrong with you for picking up the newspaper,
Right.
mostly the guy in his bathrobe, and sitting down at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee and reading the newspaper. That is simply what you're doing with your phone. And so stop beating yourself up about it. That is where you're getting news. That is where you're keeping in touch. That is where
That's
you're
where I
working
get the
on
dog
things.
video that makes me laugh and makes me happy.
Exactly. Like watching the cartoon, watching
Right,
the comic, reading the comics.
Right.
But so you can have a private page if you're a business person and you want to do your private things with your friends or whatever, then make it private. You have to have a business page.
I'm glad you brought that up because I have two, right? I had my personal page prior to owning a business, and I have it, and then I have my business page, and I feel like I'm pretty good about, like, you know,
Keeping it separate.
and running both. Like I post content on both, and I recently made my personal one private. But do you think that, like, there's a benefit to having one for your business, or should it just be one for you because you are your business?
So
because I've been thinking about this recently. I'm like, I don't know.
It's kind of hard because it depends on how much time you want to spend on it and how much effort you want to put in it. So it's different. We have different businesses.
Sure. Right.
So for me, I have one.
Yes.
I don't have one account. I'm lying. I have two accounts because I have a secret account. No, it is actually also my company name, but I post different kinds of things in there than I would do in my full business one. Right. And it was my mom's, like, I post personal stuff sort of in stories. This is my mom's birthday was the 30th. So she would have been 102, right? So it's like, I'll post stuff that's private and personal and, like, it's something
it's
about
journal,
me. Yeah,
honestly. It's
exactly.
almost a journal.
But I'll do that in stories because it's a 24-hour thing and then it's gone. The posts and things are all related to business.
Okay.
But I did do a post that has the solar eclipse. You know, I had my strainer out and I was showing the little spots are like, you know, crescents. So that's on there. That's not necessarily, so there's some lightness in there, but it's,
because if someone looks you up too, you want them to see the human you, right?
Exactly.
Not just the business.
But I do a walk in the morning sometimes that I'll put those on as well. So you see me, like, you know, full
regular
stuff, and then
person.
There's like walking person. So those are on there too, but I'm usually asking a question, a rhetorical question about business or life or something like that. So it is relatable. Personal, like, I think personal things, we should keep them separate. Why are you posting them unless your whole family lives in another country? And that's the only way they can keep track of you, which is not true anymore.
I feel like what you said earlier is very true. Like, we also forget that we're the ones posting it. Yeah. So, I mean, for example, okay, so I'm going on vacation next week, right? Like, I could post that I'm on vacation on my business page, and, you know, people would love that, right? It's okay. I'm not posting, you know, me in the hospital for 2 days with the hospital bracelet being vague, not telling anybody what's wrong with me. Right. I'm not doing that on my personal or my
right. Exactly. But the other thing is, security wise, you shouldn't be posting.
Right. You should do it after
when you're back from your vacation. That's when you post that you went on vacation.
Right.
You know, the beautiful Italian vacation with all the things, but you're home.
Right.
Yes. So it's sad state of affairs that you have to do that, but you have to do that, right?
It is what it is.
Yeah.
No, this has been so good. So many good nuggets. You're so easy to talk to.
Oh, well, thank you.
That's amazing. Tell everybody, where can they find you?
So you can find me at michellebalaun.com, which is Michelle with 2 L's. And Balaun is really easy. It's BALAUN.com. That's where my whole business lives, michellebalaun.com. I am Michelle Balaun on LinkedIn. I am Michelle Balaun on Instagram. I am Michelle Balaun on Facebook. It's not real hard.
No.
So it's pretty much all the same.
That's awesome. You have a great
and YouTube.
Headshot.
I
love
you.
it.
YouTube. So here's another thing about headshots. Biggest pain in the... So when you are looking on your phone, the headshot is about as big as your little fingernail, okay? And if you have you have a gorgeous headshot.
Well,
but if you have dark clothes on,
recent,
with a dark background, and there's a little beige fleck that is a face, right? Who is that? How am I going to see this on my phone? So you'll notice I always have like a screaming pink jacket on or something. You're like, oh, it's pink. It must be Michelle. Click.
Smart.
Exactly. So it's like change the color of your background. Do something. It's like you have to do something to make yourself stand out and are easy to find. Because when I look at a bunch of people, and I have 10 of them, they're all in dark. They all have a dark background. They all have long hair. They all have, it's just like, oh my God, I have to put my glasses on. Then I have to like get it in the right light. I might even have to enlarge it
and zoom it in a little.
See if I can see. Yeah, exactly. Right. So profile pictures should be consistent.
Oh yeah.
So I will say that because I have different things going on, I have the same jacket, but I might have a different face, right? So I have that one profile picture that is me with sort of an obnoxious look on my face because I hate like the smiling, like, hi, hello. I'd rather be iconic than beautiful.
I love that. Oh my God, that is amazing.
Because you look at it, you're like,
I gotta write this down.
She?
It's so good. That is so good.
I'd rather be iconic than beautiful. So it's like, what is she looking at? Is she look pissed? Is she looking funny? Is she looking like, it makes you kind of go, what is she doing with her face? Right?
It fits
me.
Your genuine bold. It
does.
fits.
It does.
It's so good. That is so good.
It
I
does.
love this.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh my
We're
gosh.
going to have to bring you back. We got to do this
Awesome.
again. Thank you so
Pick
much for coming. Yeah.
Pick a topic.
I love this.
I'm good with all of it.
It's been a pleasure to get to know you. I wanted to talk to you about the daily drip. We didn't even get there. Just thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for coming. And definitely going to have you back on so we can talk about this stuff more and really talk about anything.
Like I have lots of stuff.
I love it.
I can talk forever.
I love it. Well, we'll catch you next time.
Okay. Thanks so much. Bye.